Alright, Danny, I'm Andrew, and I'll be interviewing you for the IT internship. Before we begin, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Alright. Now, for the first question, give an example of when you had to work with a group.
I had a video game design class where we had to get into a group of about 4 to 5 programmers, and we had to pretty much come up with a video game design. We had deadlines to follow. We also had to figure out working around everyone's schedule to meet up and then get that situated. But yeah, it took us about 4 months in total to get a game up and going, or at least a prototype rather.
Give an example of when you experienced conflict within a group.
Alright, this also relates to the video game design project, where we had a difference of opinions in terms of what game we were going to make and how we were going to even do it.
Right.
Someone wanted to use Unity, but someone else wanted to do Unreal Engine.
Okay.
And then we also had an issue with source control, where someone was not completely following the procedures to do it, and then we ended up having to completely nuke the project every so often because the person was not like listening or following up on it. And it was just like, it really put a roadblock for the entire team.
Right.
Just trying to like make sure that everyone got everything done when this one person just wasn't on par with it. That was the main conflict there. But other than that, it was something that we couldn't necessarily do, something we had to deal with, just because again it was assigned groups.
Right.
So there's only so much that we could do with what we had. We talked to the professor, but again, the professor wasn't all too willing to do anything for us.
And that's a good follow-up to the next question. Give an example of when you experienced conflict with a superior.
In my experience, it's kind of hard to go up against a superior. It kind of also depends on the ground that you feel with them. With this particular case, it was just difficult because she just has the will and say to do whatever she wants.
Right.
And there's no one really watching over her except for going up to like a dean per se, and even then that takes time. And then we just kind of figured that as a group, it's a lot better if we just put our efforts into doing the best we can with the project rather than putting our efforts into going to a dean and just wasting more time there.
Right. It's better to focus on things that you actually can
have control over. Yeah.
Right. That's good. Now, do you have any coding experience?
Yeah. So I pretty much majored in college with computer science.
Okay.
I've had a few internships over the summer where I worked at least into 2 different locations.
Okay.
The first one was with the Department of Homeland Security, where I was a student volunteer intern. I was working with them as a cybersecurity analyst, and then the following year I was with a private contractor working with the Department of Tax and Revenue Service for Louisiana. I was basically a junior software engineer. They had me go in and look at visual pages, trying to find bugs that could be fixed. Where I worked in SQL, C#, HTML, JavaScript, but that's about the surface level of it.
Okay. Tell me about something you've improved about yourself that you're proud of.
Something that I've struggled with in the past, and something that I've seek to improve and have since, is delegating. So in the past, I was president of the Vietnamese Student Association Club, and back then people had come to me with issues of me taking on too much or not asking for help. And in my experience, I've seen where the quality of my work has suffered because of that, because I wasn't able to or willing to ask people for help.
Right. What are some things you'd still like to improve on currently?
I think being able to focus into a single language. What I've been doing as of late is just trying to dive into like all type of languages and just only getting the basic knowledge. But I feel like in order to be really good at something, I feel like I should specialize. And I've just been working on choosing a language and just sticking to it for the time being. Which is right now it's between SQL and Swift. So instead of like trying to juggle 6 at a time, it's only 2 right now.
Right. what would you say are your best qualities?
I think when it comes down to it, I think people would say that I'm reliable.
Okay.
They would come to me and ask me for my help, and I feel like I would be able to one to pull through and follow up on it. I think feel like people are able to talk to me,
Mm.
that I'm fairly understanding.
Okay. What's your dream job?
I like to find myself in a Fortune 500 company as a senior developer.
Okay.
In terms of what or where yet, or like what particularly skill set that I have, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm still figuring that out, but I do know that I want to be able to be the one that calls the shots.
Okay. So you'd like to be a leader.
A leader, yes.
What were some of your favorite courses in college and why?
I had two courses. The first one was the second iteration of C++,
Okay.
where I had a teacher that was difficult, where I had to take my entire time out to actually finish the class.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I liked about it the most was that it offered the difficulty and the challenge, of a real world aspect,
Mm-hmm.
but the teacher was always there to like offer help. Like as long as we showed the effort to put in the work and actually
Mhm.
have work to show for it, he was willing to help and like help us figure out and understand the solution to the code.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one was just, it was interesting overall. It was the reverse engineering and malware analysis course, where it was taking a bit of malware and then trying to go into it bit by bit and understanding what each you know subset did. And that as difficult as it was interesting to see like how just like a short line of code or like so a few blocks can like do so much damage.
Mm-hmm. So you prefer more real world hands-on stuff.
Exactly.
That's good. Why do you think you'll be a good fit for the position?
As a recent graduate, I feel like I have a lot to learn,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like being able to just join any type of position right now, is best for me, just because I'm still willing to learn. I'm still active, and I'm
Mhm.
still young, and like I feel like I can provide fresh energy into the group.
Okay. No, that was our last question. Do you have any questions for me or anything you'd like to add?
What's an example of a project that I'll be working on if I were to join?
One thing you would be doing is making daily updates to the company intranet site and things like that. You'd start out in easier stuff and then work up to more complicated projects.